Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Change Your Mind podcast. I'm your host, Chris Ashley, and I'm excited. Today, we are going to talk about tragedy to triumph and hear some amazing personal story of resilience. But first, a couple quick announcements. If you head to the links in the show notes, you are going to find a lot. Of course, you'll find links for my amazing guest. You'll also find a link to my book, Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality. It was endorsed by 3 experts from The Secret, Marcy Shimoff, Bob Doyle, Michael Beckwith. It was endorsed by John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. So go check it out. It's in paperback, ebook, audiobook. You'll also find links to my courses, my free downloads, a free live webinar, ways to sponsor the podcast if you want to do some advertising on here, and a whole host of other things. And finally, as always, this podcast is part of the Los Angeles Tribune Podcast Network. We are doing a lot in the realm of personal development. We have some amazing live and virtual events happening. I was just on stage with Les Brown and Sharon Lechter and Dr. Joe Vitale not that long ago. So come check us out. We're doing a lot. Hi, I'm Chris. When I was younger, I went through trauma that caused me to feel broken and lost. But my life changed after I had a spiritual awakening. Since then, I've dedicated my life to studying and learning from masters all around the world that have helped me to create a life of fulfillment and abundance beyond my wildest dreams. Now I'm dedicated to sharing everything I've learned so that you don't have to suffer for decades like I did. I've seen people's lives completely transformed, and I share it all right here. All right, so with me today, I have Carroll Dey. As an enthusiastic, energetic, and experienced sales expert, Carroll traveled the world marketing and selling fine wines for 20 very successful years. She has amassed a multi-million-dollar portfolio in real estate sales since 1998. With the extensive negotiation, marketing, and communication skills learned, it is a natural instinct how Carroll puts them to use in this highly competitive real estate market. So welcome, Carroll.
Thank you, Chris. I'm so excited to be here with you today and your great energy and your great life that you're leading. And congratulations on your new baby, 6-month-old. I've been waiting for this for a couple of weeks. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I appreciate you listening to the show before you came on. You would be surprised how few guests do that. So it's always appreciated. So, we're going to talk about tragedy to triumph today, because obviously I just read your bio. You are incredibly successful. I'm sure anyone reading that would think, wow, she's got it all, right? But as we know, everyone goes through difficult situations, right? Everyone has a story, everyone has a past. And I like to start my episodes the same way, and that is by asking my guest, what's their origin story? So I'd love for you to share your own background, your own story about, how you came to be this experienced, successful mogul that you are.
Oh, I love being called a mogul. Thanks.
It's a good word, right?
It's a great word. I grew up in a little town called Rumson, New Jersey, which is on the Jersey Shore. So my childhood was pretty idyllic. We went to school in the winter and the beach in the summer, like living in California. The beach is in my soul. And I think my life really, let me digress and say, I know now, after being on this planet for many decades, that what happened to me as a child prepared me through every episode and chapter of my life for where I am today. So when my parents split up, I was about 15. And I like to say to people, I went from shopping at Saks in New York to the consignment stores locally in New Jersey. And it's not that we didn't always have a roof over our head, we did, but the dissolution of my family really was difficult. I always wanted to get out of a small town. I ended up in Washington, D.C. Again, there was a circuitous route getting me here. And then it kind of went from there. And I was diagnosed with an eye disease when I was 29. I was told that I would be blind by the time I was 35, and that's never happened. I am double that age now. And it's what led me to working with healers. And back in the 80s, people didn't talk about working with healers, right? Like they just didn't talk about Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer and the people of the day, Shakti Gawain. And that's really what was the basis for me getting through, I believe, the years to come. Fast forward, my dad took his life in 1995. A couple of years later, I was pretty vulnerable, and I quote unquote fell in love with a con man and lost everything I had, my life savings. And then 2 years after that, I was bankrupt and then was jogging across the street, and a lady ran a red light and hit me with her car. And I will say that at that moment, coming to on the other side of the street, surrounded by churches and synagogues, I believe I landed on an angel mattress. And what is that, 25 years ago now, 1999? And it's really when the trajectory of my life changed. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, almost a month. I have whole ligaments, I don't have whole ligaments in my left knee. I broke my right leg. I landed on my head. I've had 4 concussions, so all of, oh, by the way, the nuns hit me in grammar school, like in my head, like slapped me, threw me on the floor. So those are all things that got me to where I am today and able to, I believe now, been led to helping other people. Through that, I was in the wine importing business for 20 years. And now I have been a successful real estate person since 1998. And I truly feel that right now is the best time of my life. I've been interviewed before, and the thing that I want to, I guess, launch in this conversation with you is when my dad was 67 when he took his life. So when I was turning 67, I was freaked out, right? I thought, my God, is something going to happen to me? And I was never suicidal. I never felt depression other than I felt sadness. But leading up to 67, and I'm sure other people have gone through this when their parent has died suddenly, So about a week before my birthday, I had an epiphany. Nobody appeared to me. A bright light didn't go off in my room. But all of a sudden, I realized my dad was saying to me, here's the baton. I could not go past 67. Beginning this birthday are going to be the best years of your life. You're not only going to change your life, but you're going to change other people's lives. And so I don't mind admitting now publicly that I turned 70 last year, because it still blows my mind to even say that number. I just can't even fathom it in my head. But at the same time, I also know that it's up to me now at almost 71 in September that I am on this planet to have conversations like this with you and to help other people know that with faith and just really an inner spirit and guidance, you too can get through things. And obviously there's little vignettes, there's stories, there's something to go along with every single thing that I've gone through. But the main thing is just having this inner spirit, this inner faith. You have 2 choices. You go down or you go up. And I just have chosen, I have a strength from when I was a child. And of course I've had bad days, terrible days where I'm like, holy moly, like, how am I going to get out of this? Because not every real estate year is successful. It's really challenging, but learning to turn the challenges into opportunities and lessons and light, being led to having a conversation with somebody like you, I really believe is my purpose in life.
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you so much for your vulnerability. and sharing all of that. And I mean, that's just an incredible amount for someone to go through, especially in such a short period of time at such a vulnerable age, too. And, I just appreciate all your insights and the fact that you just coming on, like, you don't need to come on this show, right? Like you said, you're coming on to help other people. And I think that's really admirable. And I just want to applaud that before we go any further. So, I guess I'll start with, you mentioned that you were into Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay and all of these things, and that all of the difficult things got you to where you are today. So I guess let's back up and just talk about, like, how did you make it through those hard times? Because you kind of touched on faith, but what was it when you were in the hospital going through all of those surgeries or dealing with the grief after your father? Like how did you pull yourself through those?
So I never had a surgery. And I think it's a good place to start. And we can always go back to talk about my dad. But um, I've always, thanks to my father, I've always been conscious about staying in shape physically. And he was a big deal athlete. So, and I'm the oldest of kids, half siblings, full siblings, step siblings. So there's a lot of people behind me. And I have always wanted to stay in shape. So I've never had a surgery. I work with a person who cannot be called a trainer. He's actually beyond that. He's a physiotherapist. And I started working out with him in the early 2000s, like about 2003. And now he has his own workout facility, and he is an extraordinary human being. He works with fascia. He travels the world with different groups that he dissects cadavers. So he really knows how to work the body. And so it's really him and his crew building my muscles so that the 3 ligaments that I have that are all partially torn, my left leg is stronger in many ways than my right leg that was broken. So it's that core being. And so when you ask, I go back myself and ask, and it's really just me believing that I can do it. And it's not one thing. I met Wayne Dyer when he was speaking in Virginia back in the 80s. And I can just remember all those words kind of seeping into my core being. But, over the years, because I didn't grow up at a time where people are as expressive as they are now, right? There was no social media. It was me writing in my journal or writing letters to people or the book pages fall out from those days of reading those things over and over and over again. There was no Audible, and so I think there was something from when the rug was pulled out from under me and a survival instinct was born. And so in order to help other people to understand that, it takes you have to do the work. You've got to really sit down. I listened, by the way, I'm all over the place, but I listened to a Joe Dispenza because I just love him. And I listened to something that he did. I've gone to sleep with him, like listening to a lot of his stuff over the years. But he did something really beautiful that a friend shared with me, and I listened to it this morning, about being in silence, and just really going into your core to find that peace. I started meditating last September. So when I say that my life has really changed in these last couple of years, it's really true. But going through the hardships got me to where I am. And that's why I told that story quickly, because there's really dear friends around me that have all supported me. God knows what they say when they're not with me. They're probably like, oh my God, now what? But there's friends that come through the door when stuff happens, and they're right there for me. And I think, having lived in Washington, D.C. since the mid 70s, this is really my home and where the people who have supported me are. So, yeah, when I say that to you about faith, it's greater today, but it obviously was in my core. And it's, believe me, not because of the nuns or going to Catholic school that any of that was set in my foundation. I really owe it to the different healing. I studied Reiki before people were doing Reiki. And I don't do it on other people. I just kept being led to this place of healing. So I know that was a circuitous route to an answer, but there really isn't one answer.
No, I appreciate that answer. And it's funny, before we even talked, I didn't even know that you were into Reiki and Wayne Dyer and all that. I was just like, all right, I got a strong businesswoman coming on. She's going to talk about, tragedy to triumph. And, I mean, either way, it would have been great, but I'm pleasantly surprised to hear that too, because it just lines with the podcast even more. I guess, and by the way, I totally agree that there's never any one thing. I've gone through my own trauma, as I share them in my book and on the show, but it was like years and years and years of trying different healing modalities and listening to all these people that you've mentioned and reading the books. And it's like little by little, like you said, it seeps in and things start to shift. But I guess what I'm trying to like get at is, some people, when they go through tragedies, and when you go through tragedies, of course you need to feel it, right? You need to go through it. That's the only way. And you have to feel the emotions, but some people get stuck there, right? Some people shrink. Some people turn to resentment or fear or disempowerment. And then there's others that just have this grit, and they adapt and they learn and grow from the challenges. And I'm trying to figure out, what is it that those people have, and how do we teach the other type of people to become more like that, to become more resilient like that?
So I'm going to take a sidestep to that question,
Yeah.
because there was a place where I worked out here, and I still do, but differently, but in the pool where I used to go to work out, I'm not the tallest person in the world. I'm 5'1". So each side of the pool was 3 feet. So I would run a mile up and down in that pool, and people would come up to me and they're like, oh my gosh, you're in such great shape. And they wanted me to tell them that I was in great shape because I did it in 5 minutes. Right. And, oh, you lose weight and all you have to do is blow your nose and you've just lost 20 pounds and you went from a size, there was no Ozempic, there weren't things like there are today. So when you ask me, I'm again on a circuitous route to answer that, is I felt alone so much of the time during these readings, during the sadness and the happiness. And I don't want to be dismissive and say you're born that way, right? When I'm near the ocean, and it doesn't matter if I'm in California or in Seabright, New Jersey, the ocean is like an elixir for me. And so when I'm working out with my trainer, I come away from it renewed. So when I answer that question, I'm finding, and by the way, I had a reading with a woman last week, which helped me to define what I'm trying to define, that I am more able to express myself now in order to help people and to find my voice, which is what you're helping me to do, to say it's the loneliness. It's what Joe Dispenza called silence. So I really shouldn't call it loneliness. I should say going into the silence and sobbing on the floor by myself and just kind of extracting all that negativity to come back into wholeness. And it has taken me a long time. Like you say, it's not a lot of time, but it is a lot of time, right? I've been here for decades, and it's gone like faster than anything I could ever describe. But I choose to have people around me now that lift my spirits, that are not toxic, that are not negative, and I'm in a coaching program with an amazing group of people, and I feel more alive than I ever have. So it's like, okay, well, how did I get here to be able to say that to you? And I really think it's going into my core being and feeling that pain to get to the happiness, the joy, and the gratitude.
I appreciate that answer because it's, again, you have to feel it, right? You have to feel all of those emotions. You have to connect to your inner being. And I love Joe Dispenza too, by the way. And I think I've seen the clip that you're talking about. But it's powerful. And I, like you said in the beginning, I have a 6.5-month-old, and I was reading him Dr. Seuss, Oh, the Places You'll Go. Have you read that book recently? Because it's like,
Not recently,
you should
no.
go read it again, because it's like you shut the last page and you're like, damn, like that was real. And it was the last book he ever wrote. But there's a part in it that's like, you're going to be lonely a lot. Like, you're going to be alone a lot in life. Like, lonely and alone or something, you're going to be a lot. And I was thinking about that as you were talking. We're here in community, and you have all these people in your life who have helped you, but it's like, we're on this journey here as humans, and like you said, it goes quick, and we're here having this experience, and you get to make of it what you will, right? Like, you get to decide if you want to live in the gloom or if you want to create this amazing life for yourself.
Well,
So
and
yeah.
I don't have a 6.5-month-old, and I never have. For a long time, and I think perhaps if I'm going to be my own therapist, I chose the wrong people to date, and or I allowed them to choose me, and then managed to be with a con man. Yay, that was a big lesson. And lose everything. And then a guy that I dated back in the 90s or back when I was in my 20s, came back into my life in the 90s. And I actually had loved him, and then didn't want to be with him. Those 20 years that had gone by, or however many years, I saw him in a different way. And now I have a guy in my life who's my best friend, but not my lover, not somebody but that my relationship with this guy has taught me more and given me more, because he's my best straight guy friend. And you get into relationships with people and they turn into romantic, right? You just expect them to. And this has not. And it's been the greatest healing journey of my life. And we're really on a parallel, because he's had 2 marriages and has kids, and so we've helped each other to grow. And it's been a wonderful life lesson for me, having him in my life and being able to confide in him about everything. So, that is something that I have not had what you have yet. I like to say to people, I'll be in the Guinness Book of World Records because I'll get married in my 70s and, find the love of my life. But all of that is just part of my coming into my beingness and my worthiness and finding my voice, and people like you who I'm meeting along the way because of Noemi, getting me to speak my truth. And I think that, maybe circling back to what you just said, is we can do the work, right? We can listen to Joe Dispenza, we can read books, we can read poetry, we can write, but do you love yourself? And I think for me, over these last, truly, honestly, few years, I finally love myself. And that has given me my giddiness and my ability to sit here and talk to you and hopefully help other people. And that's the pain of going into the quiet. That's where you are when you're doing that really deep work of finding the love within yourself. And that's what's been changing my life over these last couple of years.
That's so powerful. And by the way, you're reminding me of your story with your dad coming and visiting, or you didn't see the light, but he talked to you. Um, that's also powerful. So let's talk about the stillness and the silence, since that seems to have been, you know, the game changer for you. You know, when you go into meditation, we know that you fall asleep to Joe Dispenza's often, but talk to me about your meditation routine. Let's do that, because like, do you just sit there and just allow and just breathe and just allow whatever comes in? Do you go in with a purpose? What's your method? Because obviously it's made a profound impact on your life.
So I'm going to tell you two stories, but I'm going to go backwards. So I was led to the meditation with TM, Transcendental Meditation, through a colleague of mine. And I went to the center in Bethesda, Maryland last September, on September 19th. And I went through there, and it was in person. And ever since that day, I've been doing the TM twice a day. Have I missed days? Absolutely. So during COVID, what they created on a TM link is you can meditate, a guided meditation with this guy, Bob Roth, who lives in New York. And he started doing it on the like I said, the TM link during COVID. And they've now created this master program. And they do, of course, I can go there in person, but I do it at 7 in the morning and at 6 at night. Not tonight because I'm with you. So this is my beautiful time is with you. And so Bob will tell us something. He reads a poem. He gives us like a life lesson for 5 minutes. And then how we're led into it is so simple. You're given a mantra. So I count for 30 seconds, and then I say the mantra. And one of the things with TM that I find is so remarkable is there's no pressure to breathe. You let your mind completely go for 20 minutes. And then Bob finishes it with a poem. And I love doing it with him because I know there's thousands of people doing it with us all over the world. And so there's that beautiful harmony of energy where you don't see anybody, but you know they're there. And so sometimes I fall asleep, let my mind go. Sometimes when I'm doing it, I think of stuff that I should have done during the day. I may forget it when I come out of the meditation and not remember, but it's really, really simple. So leading to that, I worked with a man last August. I did what is called a mastermind with a guy named Bob Berg. There's a lot of Bobs in my life, by the way. Bob Berg has written a series of books called Go Giver. And there's Go Giver Influencer, Go Giver everything. And so I went to his mastery in Jupiter, Florida last August, I guess 2nd or 3rd. And it was only 7 of us. And each person gets 1 hour we're only together for 2 days. And Bob teaches his 5 principles of the Go-Giver. And then each of us gets 1 hour to tell either about how we need help in our business or in life. And so I had written Bob and his business partner, Kathy, ahead of time, sort of like what I just said to your audience and to you in the very beginning about, all the things that I had gone through. And I thought, well, when I talk, I'm going to be chill. Like I'm going to be able to deliver this. And then I don't know where it's going to lead. And when I talked, I started sobbing. It was and I talked kind of like I just talked to you, but even more abbreviated. And I could feel my guts coming out in the table. Remember, I didn't know anybody. I had never met anybody in that room until those first days of August last year. And when I finished, everybody's crying. And
Aw.
there was a guy with us. His name is Corey, and he's such a beautiful person. And he's like, "What are you doing? You just turned tragedy into triumph. You are amazing. You've got to do TED Talks. You've got to talk to people. And that is the day my life changed and led me here. And one of my colleagues had done the course 2 months before me. And that's what led me to being with you today, to Noemi, to the podcasts, to TM, was what happened last August 2023 to get me here. And so that's a long answer about the meditation. But if you and you know what, if you've got a really busy day, you don't have to sit there for 20 minutes. You can do it for 10. In the last couple of months, I have a coach that I'm working with through Bob Berg, and I do gratitudes, 3 gratitudes every morning. You write down, what, like, I am grateful for speaking with Chris today. And then you write because, and that's the game changer on the gratitudes. Only 3. And then there's a little meditation exercise and 2 kind of, not prayers, but 2 different things that you say to yourself to start the day. And I've been doing that since the middle of June. And it just totally changes the energy for my day. And it's worth repeating when I say why I'm grateful for you, Chris, the because is the reason I'm grateful is what's changing my energy. Because I'm really expressing from my soul, from my center, what you've done for me by having this interview and how it's changing my life yet again. So that's the meditation. And nobody should worry about breathing with a meditation. I'm not telling everybody to go to a TM center. You could probably make up your own mantra, right? You can have something that you come up with yourself and just be there for 20 minutes, saying that over in your head, and it'll guide you to where you need to go. But all that other stuff is too much pressure. It needs to be very easy, very chill, very calm.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that and the stories. And I'm like, I want to know what his 5 principles are. I don't want to know what your becauses are, but that's so powerful. Like, gratitude at the beginning of your day is so powerful. And I've never written the because, and I'm going to start doing that because uh, it seems like it would get you deeper down to a soul level,
And there's
right?
only 3, right? Like, I've taken other courses and they're like, oh, write 25, right? 3. That's it. 3. And I'll send you, if you share your email, I have your email, I'll forward you the whole exercise so you can have it. And and the person who does it with me is on Facebook, or who taught it to me. Her name is Kim Anjali. And so she's actually set a challenge up on Facebook. So if people find her on Facebook, she set a gratitude challenge up. It's a 5-day challenge. So people can just go on there and connect with her. And I'd love it if you used your name and my name and told her that it's because of us that people are led there. But she lays the whole thing out there, and that's where people can find it.
Amazing. Thank you. I'll check it out for sure. And I'll put the links. Oops. Let me take the mic. I'll put any links in the show notes too that you have of her Facebook or anything that you want to share. I like that you said it was easy. Like, you reminded me, like, one of my good friends is really into TM, and she does a little journaling exercise just to get rid of fear. And then she meditates for 20 minutes twice a day. And it's like, she's like, now is my med time. She calls it her med time. And she's like, no one talks to Jamie during her med time. Like, we know she doesn't answer her texts. Like, we know that those 2 times during the day, I've done it with her, and you're right, it's so simple, and we tend to overcomplicate things. But it's like, it's almost like as humans, we're like meant to go within like that, right? Like there's so much inside of us. We are vast and expansive, and there's so much to explore within us.
I think the key is, and there is, the key is letting go.
Mm.
Is what you just said. I turned everything off, and and I was really led to it. Like, people would talk about TM and it's like, well, okay, like, you're pretty chill. You seem, and then when this colleague of mine told me, and she has, like you, she had a little 2-year-old and she has a husband and a million things going on in real estate. And she said, this has changed my life. And, there's centers everywhere. And the people that are there, I love telling you this so much, they're all like old hippies. Everyone there is like in their late 70s or however old they are. And they've been doing it for 50, 60, like 55 years or however old they were when they started. And they're the ones that are running the centers. And it's so cool because, they know like all the old songs, like from Joan Baez and Bob Dylan. And they were probably smoking pot when they first started doing it. And now they're not, and they're doing TM, and they go around and teach people, and they have retreats. And so I could go in person. It's just not really convenient for me, but popping it up on the phone, boom, I'm right there in minutes. And that's the whole teaching of TM, is making it really simple. And anybody can do it on their own, like what you just said about your friend. You don't have to go through a guided meditation. It's just, and it's 10 extra minutes because Bob does a lead in and then he does a poem at the end. But it just really is a game changer. And like you just said, going inside and letting your mind go, just being quiet. And there's none of that heavy breathing, or you're just being you and you're being quiet.
And you're just being. Right?
Right.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love the old hippies that in their late 70s. That's super cool. Yeah,
The
you're inspiring me to start doing it for sure. Because like even when I sit in meditation, when I'm not listening to, I love guided meditations like Joe's, but even when I'm not doing that, just like sitting in silence, even without a mantra, it's like, I don't know how else to describe it, but it's like at first there's like all that static in your brain, and then eventually it just kind of like melts away. Right? Because we get so much like built up over the day. Like you said, it's like we're on social media, or like we've got a million things to do, or families or work or whatever. And it's just, there's something like, humans aren't meant to live like that, right?
No, we're not meant to live like we are now. We're not. And so you you don't have to have a mantra, but you do have to have silence.
Mm.
And so the 30-second count into it for me, just clicking off those 30 seconds to be in that mantra, or just silence. And by the way, when you're in that silence, you're not saying the mantra the whole time. Like, I'm not going, "Ba-do, ba-do, ba-do, ba-do." You're not making any noise. You're not doing any of that. So no, you don't have to have a mantra. But
How long do you say the mantra for then?
till I say it initially, I'll say it, and then I let my mind go. And then I bring myself back to the mantra, and then I let my mind go. And so I may not, one of the things that Bob Roth says is, if you fall asleep and you don't come back until I'm closing it out, then that was supposed to be your meditation for the day, like, or the morning or the night. Like, it's never the same. So I may sit there and be like, bada, bada, but like saying the mantra in my head. And then the next thing I know, I have fallen asleep, or I come back to it. And then what you just said, you go back into the silence and you just let it go. So not one meditation is the same ever.
That's really cool. And give me an example mantra. Is it, Because I think a lot of people hear mantra, they're like, "Oh, that's not accessible. That's going to be something in Sanskrit or something." Like, give me an example mantra.
I don't know. Because nobody shares theirs. So I'm gonna make it
Oh.
up like Pumba. Like, it's just like a syllable or a couple of letters, Ama. Like it's like that. And all that is me just off the top of my head.
Okay.
Because if I say mine, then I'm gonna like melt and I'll never come back. I'll just
Well, I don't want that to happen. I didn't realize. I thought like your Bob gave you the mantra. I didn't realize that you have your own. Okay.
no,
Very
no, they give it to you. So you go to the center and
mm,
there's a ceremony. Like I had to bring fruit and flowers. And then you go to this altar with the woman who's guiding you, and she gives you Chris, you have your mantra. Now, you and I may have the same mantra, right? I don't know how many there are, but you'll never tell me yours and I'll never tell you mine. So everyone is given a mantra.
okay, you're bringing me back to to this whole thing with my so I used to own a yoga studio and I used to run yoga teacher trainings for another company, and it was my partner in it. She's the one that's really into TM, and she would run like a 3-hour session about TM, and she had us do all that, and she would whisper the mantra. I remember this now. You're bringing it all back. It's been a while, which I'm grateful for, because I think I need to do it. There's a reason that you're on today. Um,
Sure.
can I totally shift gears on us for
Sure.
this last little part?
Sure.
Because another thing that's so inspiring about you is how successful you've been in business, and the fact that you were with a con man and you lost everything and then built up this amazing business is super inspirational. And there are certain people in the world. So my mentor is Mary Morrissey. I don't know if you know who she is, but she had this multi-million dollar like church, and she had all these there was like a board or investors, or I'm not getting the details right, so don't you can Google if you want the info, people. But it came out that her ex-husband was embezzling money from it, and she lost everything overnight. And the newspapers dragged her name through the mud because they accused her of being involved. And she turned around and she built another multi-million dollar business, paid all the money back. But the reason I'm telling that is because there are certain people out there who just have it in them. They can just build from scratch. And I think that so many people look to them, like what is it? What's that mindset behind it? What's that attitude? What's that adaptability, that persistence? So I'd love for you to just share a little bit about, you know, what made you so successful in this? How did you build after losing everything?
So everything was all happened at one time. I filed bankruptcy. And how do you file bankruptcy if you have no money, right? Because the guy stole everything. I had $1,600 in a drawer. That's all I had. And so everything was, when I look back, was serendipitous. I started teaching wine seminars at law firms. And a guy that I used to sell wine to has a liquor store in downtown DC. And he would supply the wine, and I would go to I cold called law firms. So I paid the bankruptcy attorney, filed bankruptcy, and on July 27th, so about a month or two before I was hit by the car on July 27th, I sold 2 houses, my first 2 houses. So after coming out of the hospital, I had $13,000 in the bank from the closings of those 2 sales. And that's how I started it all over again. And so when you ask that question, like I'm in a rebuilding period right now. I'm having to pull from savings again to rebuild because of COVID and going through, I mean, of course I own things, I have investments, but I haven't had a flow of real estate, and now I'm rebuilding it again. And I will be even more successful, but happier when I do this again. And each time I do it, I'm reinventing myself. And it's what I said a couple of minutes ago. It's believing in myself. But now people like you are coming into my life, where I've now surrounded myself with the right people through this rebuilding. So I have opened myself. Like, I don't lay awake at night worrying. I live in an apartment that I can afford, and I just have made it work. But I'm in a real paradigm shift because I'm believing in myself more than I ever have. And it's not about money. It's about my worthiness. It's about abundance. Like, I get an elixir that comes through me and energy that comes through me having a conversation with you today. Like, you're giving me inspiration as I'm helping other people. So that's where I'm getting it from, is surrounding myself with people who are supporting me with their energies, is kind of that flow of energy between all of us. And so when you say that about success, I'm surrounded by people who are very driven by material things and money. Of course, I want those things, but it's coming from a core being now. I hope that makes sense. It's coming from a place that I've never honored before. And so I don't care if I have a big house or a private jet or a chauffeur driven car. Sure, that all sounds lovely. I don't care that I have diamond rings, but I have beautiful things. Like, I have a beautiful wardrobe. Like, but it doesn't define me. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. In today's world, I hear this label and this dress, shoes, purse, makeup, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh my God, do you love yourself from the inside? Like, no one will be my real friend because I'm wearing Gucci, right? That's not what defines me. What defines me is who I am as a person, and that you can trust me, and that I in turn can trust you, and that we have that synchronicity. And that, to me, is where my new chapter of success is coming from. Where I got to here now is, again, I had a fabulous real estate partner for 14 years, and I love what I do. So I have a list of people like you, where we sold houses to them when they were just getting married, and now they're having little babies, and they're still calling us and wanting us to help them. And, I do still work with my former real estate partner a lot, and then I work on my own. And so it's just really, I think that's the core of the answer, is if you love what you do, you will be a success. But you have to love what you do.
That was a phenomenal answer. And yeah, you have to love what you do, but also everything else you said about your belief in yourself. I mean, I love that you said you're going to rebuild better and you're going to be happier this time around.
Yeah.
And I feel it from you. I can feel that energy from you. So that was like a mic drop answer. That was phenomenal. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're wonderfully welcome. But it can happen really quickly, right? I only started working with Bob Berg last August, and then I did another mastery with him in June. I'm not the same person today in August that I was on June 2nd. Like, that's the beautiful thing about who we are, right? I can go and get my hair colored. I can do whatever to change myself physically in 5 minutes. Well, in a couple of months, from even a deeper belief in myself, because hair and nails and all that kind of stuff is not your core being. But if you really do the work, and the work is really hard, but it's not hard in a painful way if you look at it as being an opportunity. Joe Dispenza said that in what I listened to. I didn't just copy him, it just came out of me. But the hard things in life, we choose. We come into this life with baggage. Okay? So we're on this earth at this time to heal our past lives, if people believe in that. Or I mean, we're born into families, like, I don't know anybody that has a perfect family. So you either look at that as, okay, I have this family to teach me lessons, or you let them take you down. It depends on the day. And I'm trying to look at it like, they've all made me who I am today. You know, when my dad left in 1995, and then my grandmother, his mother, died 3 weeks later, that was my world. I feel like I am coming to healing with that now, this many years later. I'm finally able to talk about it because of these podcasts, and help people who have lost people to suicide, or are even contemplating it themselves. And I believe that that's why doing something with this, with you today, if even we help one person to go deep within and know that life is what you make of it, and you can heal. Everybody can heal, but you have to want to. And you'll be guided to that healing when you're ready and when you want to.
I couldn't agree more with everything you said. I have serious goosebumps, and you are phenomenal. I am so grateful that you came on, that Noemi sent you my way. Thank you so much, just for your insight and your wisdom and your reminders and your teachings and all of it. And I'm sure listeners want to know, like, where can they get in touch with you? Are you on social media? What's your website? Are you around?
I am. I'm kind of nerdy. I'm not really great on Instagram yet. I'm trying to get the 20-year-olds to get me better. I'm on Facebook, and I have a website. It's my name. It's Carroll, CarrollDey .com, carolldye.com. But, if you email me, it's my name. It's carolldye@msn.com. That's really the easiest. I'm kind of old fashioned. And on Facebook, if you reach out to me or message me, you can get in touch with me that way. But I just want to compliment you. I knew when I listened to your podcast and read about you before coming on that we were going to be in alignment, and that the energy with you would be really good. So thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be with you.
Thank you for saying that. That's very sweet. I feel the same way. It's been wonderful. There's some guests that come on and you're just like, oh, this is going to be fantastic, and I knew right away when you came on. So, thank you so much. And if you're listening, please send this to someone you think it'll resonate with. I hope you like, comment, share, subscribe. I know so many people will take away so much from this episode. So thank you again. Everyone listening, have a beautiful rest of your day. I'll see you next week.